Movie starts with narration about our world in the 70s and all the violence between cults, serial killers like David Berkowitz, and the Manson family. They say Jack was a bright spot in all the chaos. It was a show called The Night Owl, a late night TV show hosted by Jack Delroy. He was given the opportunity to see if he can go head to head with Johnny Carson. They start off by showing clips of the show, which is campy late night TV with animal experts and skits. Things are looking up for Jack. He inks a new deal with UBC Network and earns an Emmy nomination. He even married the beautiful Madeline Piper. Things are going well for Jack as he fights for the number one late night spot. There are rumors about Jack and the Grove, which is an all men's group established back in the 1800s. People believe they do a lot of archaic ceremonies that borderline on devil worship. They say the Grove can make or break careers. September of 1976, Jack's wife is diagnosed with terminal lung cancer despite being a non smoker. He has her on the show, and it's Night Owl's most highly rated show, but still falls 1 point short of Carson. After him and his wife have a conversation in front of millions, she unfortunately dies 2 weeks later. He goes into hiding in New York, but returns to the show after just 1 month. He goes back after the late night crown, but the ratings continue to freefall. Halloween 1977 is the beginning of Sweeps Week. What we are about to hear is what happened on that episode, both in front of the camera and behind it. This night is make or break for Jack. Tonight, he will attempt to take the late night crown by having a conversation none thought was possible. This is Late Night with the Devil. The show starts with Jack doing his opening monologue. Nothing too special, just some Halloween jokes about Jimmy Carter. He has a heart to heart with the audience because it's been 1 year since his wife's passing. And then he introduces his first guest, Christu. He is a medium that claims he can communicate with the dead. He starts his act by asking for Peter, which breaks down into a bunch of different variations of that name. The person that stands up to talk just cracks jokes for like 3 or 4 minutes straight. Christu claims he lost the signal and moves on. He finds two women sitting together and asks them about someone named Eddie. Turns out they had someone in their life who committed suicide named Edmund. After he reassures the women that Edmund is safe and happy and full of love, he ends his act. Then as Jack is about to pitch the commercial, Christu starts to scream again. He asks if anyone knows a Minnie, specifically Minnie. He looks to be in a lot of pain. The lights inside the studio start to flicker, and no one replies. Then he starts screaming about an unmarried man wearing a wedding ring. He says there's a lot of sadness, and then he says the spirit is gone after the lights blow out. Everyone's in stunned silence as Jack quickly pitches to commercial. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is a hell of a way to start the movie. So that intro I read is a part of the intro that the movie starts with. Then the movie kind of starts the way the show would, which I really like. This was a very original concept, making this movie feel like an actual TV show. I feel like they did a really good job. I didn't grow up in the 70s. I ain't that old. But from clips I've seen, it actually looks very accurate, which is one of the things I liked about this movie. This is by no means a perfect film, but I give points for creativity and not recycling the same thing. When someone's willing to go out on a limb and try something new, I'm all here for it. So, this was a really good start to the movie. Where it goes is also pretty interesting. Things are a bit chaotic during the commercial break. Jack is trying to calm down Christu, but his co host Gus wants to talk to him about some of the stuff he's seen backstage. He says people in the back are a bit spooked, but then the producer of Jack's show comes over and shoos away Gus. He's not really considerate about how anybody else is feeling, especially Christu, who is bleeding from the nose and coughing. He asks him if he can stay a little bit longer, and before Christu can answer, he says thank you and then calls Jack to the side. The producer's trying to save the show, and there are some sponsors there that want to meet Jack, but Jack is focused on the actual show. They come back from commercial and they bring out their next guest, Carmichael Haig, a former magician turned skeptic. Now he travels the country trying to find real evidence of paranormal phenomena and being a douchebag. He comes out on the show and starts to immediately insult Christu. Christu does not like this at all and throws water in his face and attempts to walk off stage, but he can't open the stage door. Jack reveals that he believes the last reading was meant for him. He is an unmarried man, but still wears his wedding ring, and his secret nickname for his late wife, Madeline, was Minnie. Christu begins to fall to the ground, throws up some black stuff. First, he vomits on the coat of Carmichael, and as Jack is screaming for them to go to commercial, he then faces the camera, launches that same black goo straight at the lens just before the screen cuts to a standby screen. So this is where we can kind of see maybe things aren't going the way they should, because there's no way for Christu, there's no reason for Christu to be acting like this. Because we can kind of understand that he may be a bit of a fraud in some aspects, but it seems like he may have some sort of connection. During commercial, everybody is still in a frenzy about what just happened. Jack sits back in his chair as they get the set cleaned up and go back to the show. They're getting ready to bring out Dr. June. She is with her young female companion who says that they can speak to the devil. Carmichael is being very snarky and condescending. They roll footage taken from the Church of Abraxas, which turns out to be a devil worshipping church responsible for the demon infestation of this child. Soon, the FBI raids their compound, and the members douse themselves in gasoline and go up in flames. The only survivor is Lily. The video ends, and again, the crowd is in a shocked silence. Then Jack brings out Lily and Dr. June. They begin talking to Dr. June about how her and Lily came together and what her job is. Lily is acting weird. She is staring directly into the camera. They take another show break. Jack gets the news that Christu died after bleeding out on the way to the hospital. They keep it from Gus as well as the rest of the crew because they're already freaked out. Also, Jack wants a live demonstration of the demon that lives in Lily, but June is trying to tell Jack that Lily is becoming more unstable. So as this movie goes on, we can kind of see that things are progressing outside of everyone's control, and Jack, along with the producer, is just so fixated on saving the show that they're not seeing the signs that are there. His co-host Gus is a better man than me, because once I hear like some of the things that happen and the fact that nobody's listening to me, I mean, I'm gonna be kind of tempted to leave. I don't really want to be there. I don't really want to be there for whatever is about to happen, especially if you talking about you about to start communicating with demons and all that other stuff from other. No, 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 no. I won't even come to any of y'all's house. If you got a Ouija board in the closet, it could be wrapped up in holy paper. It could be wrapped in pages of the Bible. We can meet at the corner. Okay. I don't play around with that stuff. After they return from commercial, Carmichael is being so condescending to everyone. He is so full of himself. The reverberator instrument starts going off in the studio through the PA system, causing several glasses to break on the table in front of Jack and his guests. Lily says that Mr. Wiggles is in the studio. Mr. Wiggles is the thing that lives inside of her, the demon. She gave it a cute name. Isn't that wonderful? Of course, Carmichael doesn't believe her, but everybody else seems to. Jack ambushes Dr. June live on television by asking Lily if she would bring her demon out for everyone to see. Lily eagerly agrees, leaving June twisting in the wind. So they go to commercial, and Gus begs Jack to stop, but Jack tells him that he is trying to save the show. Dr. June has already talked to Jack, telling him, listen, this is becoming more unpredictable. I'm having a harder time controlling Lily. So, what he does on national TV in front of millions of viewers and in front of a live studio audience, he kind of just asks her in front of everyone and really puts her on the spot. Lily saying yes. Jack's giving her the puppy dog, please, baby, please, the Keith Sweat face. And the studio audience, everybody's staring at her, so she feels pressured to say yes. Gus, Gus ain't with this shit. He does not want to summon demons and shit on Halloween night, and he's begging Jack to stop. And Jack is just being very flippant and dismissive of him. When they get back from commercial, Lily is being restrained to a chair, and June is sitting across from her. Jack, with a hollow spotlight, introduces the next segment, saying that they are going to try and communicate with the devil on live national TV. June asks everyone June asks for everyone's cooperation because Lily's focus needs to be on her during this process. Jack goes next to Carmichael on stage, and June begins bringing out the demon, Mr. Wiggles. The demon successfully comes out looking kind of like Lily, but a lot more dead. Her voice is completely different. The voice talks to Jack and says hi to him as if they were old friends. Jack says, I don't think we've been introduced. The demon says, yes, we have, in the tall trees. This plays into the rumor that Jack and the cult he fell in with is actually real. Then the demon starts saying that Jack and Dr. June are having a sexual relationship. Not quite so nicely. She curses on live television, which was not tolerated at that time. In order to get Lily to come back after calling her name several times, June slaps all hell and high water out of Lily. The demon looks at Jack one more time and says, how could you let it happen, before returning to Lily? Everyone, once again, is in a dead silence. Jack goes to commercial. So this scene was very intense because when Lily, or Mr. Wiggles, looks at Jack and says, how could you let it happen? It came out in Minnie's voice, which really freaked him out, which would freak me out too. And guess what, everybody? The motherfucking show is over. Even the camera people, after calling all clear and going to commercial, are bumfuzzled. Jack apologizes to Lily and checks on her. Then he starts to gloat and glow when talking to June because he said he knew something amazing was happening tonight. During the commercial break, Jack and his producer talk about how great things are going. There's a big sponsor that wants to talk to him. They think that Jack Delroy is about to have a major resurgence. Gus, on the other hand, Gus is me. Gus is supremely freaked out, and 3 of the crew members walked off set. Good for them. And Gus tells Carmichael that Christou died on the way to the hospital. Things are starting to devolve quickly. Jack thinks he's in control, but he's not. June questions him about the tall trees comment. He pretends to not understand what she's talking about and moves on quickly. Jack got spooked when Lily sounded like Minnie. When they come back from commercial, Carmichael demonstrates how he believes June is able to control Lily to make her look and sound like the devil. He puts a large number of the studio audience, along with Jack and June and Gus, under hypnosis. He makes Gus think that his body is gushing with worms, so Gus has a fear of worms. They go back to the stage and they rewind the tape and they see that none of the things that a lot of them saw actually happened. So Lily has the idea to do the same thing with her segment. When they go back, the tape is exactly the same. Everything that happened when Lily was possessed was still on film. They fall into this disbelief and then the lights go out. The lights pop back on. Lily is now electrified. Everyone starts to freak out. The studio audience is scrambling to get out, and Gus uses the exorcist line, "The power of Christ compels you," while he holds up his cross necklace, and Lily turns his head around, breaking his neck, and he crashes to the floor. So things start to go haywire very quickly. I mean, things start to go crazy very fast. Also, the whole electricity thing when the lights pop back on, uh, I kind of wish they would have done it a little differently because I'm sorry, it looked like a real low budget movie at that point. When she has the lightning, the electricity coming out of her hand. I don't even care about the head splitting open. It's not a graphic scene of head splitting open. It's more like a I don't know how to describe it. To me, the moment, I mean, we were going so good before. If you would have done like a shadow figure or something like that instead of doing the CGI morphing thing, I would have been more on board. But this part of the movie kind of took me out of it just because it looked so low rent. I really didn't like this part. I was hoping for a better reveal because I knew everybody knew we were going to see the demon. I was just hoping that it would look a little more menacing and didn't look like, some B movie garbage. Next, June stands up and tries to control Lily. Wait, hold on. Next, June stands up and tries to control Lily the way she always has. June is hung by her own necklace. At this time, Jack gets off stage and Carmichael gets on his knees and tries to pray to the demon. He wants the success that he believes Jack has. He pulls out a check from his wallet and tries to offer it to the demon, and she proceeds to burn him alive from the inside out. She drops June, and seemingly Jack escapes. But Jack is caught in an endless loop of his own shows, reliving all segments except in more horrifying detail. He comes to a hospice room where his wife, bald and dying from cancer, is laying in bed. He goes over to her. She's always in pain, and Jack has to do what he knows he has to do to keep her from being in pain. On the table, next to the bed, Jack sees a dagger that was found in the house of Abraxas. He takes the dagger and drives it into his wife's stomach, pushing it in until she dies. He quickly snaps out of his trance and realizes that he just plunged the knife into Lily's stomach. The studio is empty. There are two cameras pointed at him, and everyone except him, who was on the stage, is now dead. You begin to hear sirens in the background, and Jack repeats the phrase, "Dreamer awake." This is how Carmichael got Gus to snap out of his hypnotic trance earlier in the show. Eventually, the screen goes static, and then at the bottom left corner, it says "End transmission." But then it flashes, "So it is done." Then the movie cuts to credits where we're still unsure how everything ended. We don't know what happened to Jack. So outside of that one little kind of part, I really like the rest of this movie. I like the ending. I like the fact that because Jack didn't do what he was supposed to do, because apparently he made a deal while he was out in the grove that he didn't live up to. They alluded to it, but they didn't really get into it. This was kind of his punishment. is that they took Lily, the whatever he's got involved in, took Lily from him and then took his career away because he didn't want to play ball, I guess. They didn't really explain that part. I kind of wish they did, but that would have added to the runtime, and I think we have enough 2-hour movies. But this was really good. I was excited for this movie when it originally was announced, just because the concept seemed original, and I really wanted to know where we were going to go with this one. I think this movie is very much worth a watch, at least once. There's so many other bad movies out there like Joker, which I just did a video on. Go check the YouTube channel for that hot ass garbage. But I really think this movie was worth a good old watch. I'm not saying it's, the best horror movie on Shudder, even though if you've been on Shudder and you've gone through some of their films, this is probably one of the better ones, but it did have its fault, but it's such an original concept. I really like it. The acting was really good. It felt like I was watching a 70s late night talk show. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, the review for Late Night with the Devil has come to an end. I would like to thank you once again for being here. Thank you for giving me your time, which we all know is your precious commodity. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Frank, and I will see you next week. Stay up, y'all.